All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are going to talk about Tee Higgins and the Bengals. So they are not going to reach a long-term deal prior to the July 15th deadline, which is today. So that will make Tee Higgins officially he will officially be playing under the franchise tag in 2024. He signed the tag on June 17th, and he's going to make around $22 million, $21.8 million in 2024 under the one-year deal. And I think, we've talked about him a lot. Probably going to be a guy that is going to play under this franchise tag with the Bengals and then go elsewhere in 2024, or in 2025. He'll get a long-term deal elsewhere. And, it's unfortunate because Tee Higgins has been a productive player for this team for a long time. Has dealt with injuries over the course of his career, but, when it comes to a lot of players, who hasn't dealt with injuries, but he's been a productive player for them, and that's another big piece that the Bengals will be losing. But I think we all can agree they're going to invest in Ja'Marr Chase. That's their number one priority, is getting him to a long-term deal. And they drafted the receiver Burton. He's going to be that number 3 guy this year. They also brought in Mike Gesicki to be the tight end, a big target for Joe Burrow. So this is the last dance with Tee Higgins. And already Tyler Boyd left in free agency. He signed with the Titans. So, and I listen, I don't think Boyd is going to be as big of a loss as maybe some people might. Well, I don't think a lot of people think that's a major loss. But still, Boyd was there for a long time too. And he was a solid number 3, and now you lose that. And now Jermaine Burton's got to step in and be that guy to be the number 3. And we'll see how that goes. But, yeah, it's unfortunate, but you kind of understand it. You can't keep everybody. You got Joe Burrow under a big contract now. He's the highest paid quarterback in terms of AAV. So you get it. But it's just, you want to keep Tee Higgins, and it just doesn't seem like that's going to happen. Now, where could he go? There's plenty of teams that need receivers, and I think he'll find a new home with no problem. But it just it doesn't seem like it's going to be with Cincinnati now. But who knows? Maybe they surprise us. They're able to come to an agreement, and he stays. But it just seems like the writing's on the wall that he's going to end up going elsewhere, and he will not be a part of the Bengals. But yeah, he had his worst statistical season in 2023 due to injuries, of course, and Joe Burrow being hurt. He missed 5 games. He had a career low, 42 receptions, 656 yards receiving, and 5 touchdowns. But yeah, he will become a free agent in 2025. And like I said, he's probably going to end up with another team. And maybe he goes to a team within the division. Maybe. I don't want to speculate what team he could go to, but there's plenty of teams out there that need receivers. But yeah, that's a huge loss for the Bengals. But again, that's down the line, and they got to focus on this year. And the Bengals, they want to get back to the AFC Championship game, get back to the Super Bowl, because they had a nice run where they made it to back-to-back AFC Championship games, but of course against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And Tee Higgins did score a touchdown in that Super Bowl that they got to against the Rams, although there should have been a penalty on the play, but he did score a touchdown in that Super Bowl. He's just a big target. He's you want to have that. He's a nice guy to have opposite of Ja'Marr Chase. And that's a solid duo that they have, but they might not have it for that much longer. But the biggest thing for this Bengals season, and I just told you the stats of Tee Higgins from last year. If Joe Burrow's healthy and Tee Higgins, stays healthy, but the main thing is if Joe Burrow stays healthy, Tee Higgins is going to put up big numbers, and the Bengals are going to be a force in the AFC once again. But I do have some concern. Just from what I've seen, there's concern with this injury that Burrow had last year, the wrist injury. I'm a little worried, but you know what? I've been optimistic, right? I'm optimistic with teams. I'm optimistic with the Jets, and Rodgers coming back from the Achilles injury. So you know what? I'm gonna try to be optimistic with Joe Burrow, and him coming back from his wrist injury. And if he's the Joe Burrow that we know he can be, he's gonna go out there and he's gonna have a great year. Could be an MVP candidate, and he's got 2 studs at wide receiver. And Tee Higgins is gonna put up a big year if Joe Burrow's healthy. And Tee Higgins has got to stay healthy too, like I said. I'm curious to see how the Bengals are going to be running the football. I mean, they're going to be throwing. They're a pass first offense, pass heavy. That's what they're going to be. But you bring in Zach Moss, who had a productive year last year with the Colts. Chase Brown is going to be the number 2 back going into his second year. How is that going to be? But they're going to be a pass happy offense. They're going to be throwing it a bunch of times. And that's why maybe you kind of, worry a little bit with Joe Burrow in that wrist. But we'll see. So, I mean, I guess, listen, there's a lot of teams that could use, now back to Tee Higgins, there's a lot of teams that could use Tee Higgins. The Patriots, I know, are one team that comes to mind that need receivers. But, if they give him a lot of money, could go there. My team, the Giants need receivers. I know I just talked about the receiving core in the last segment, but I don't know where the money's coming from, but I would love to have Tee Higgins. There's a lot of teams you could go to. The Cardinals maybe could be a team. I don't know. There's a lot of teams you could look at and just say, maybe the Steelers. Maybe you could go to the Steelers because they're looking for another receiver. It's gonna be interesting. Well, you also got Brandon Ayuk, who I don't know what's gonna happen with him and his contract situation. Still waiting on that, but both of those guys could be on the move. I know CeeDee Lamb is still looking for a new contract, but he's gonna get it with Dallas. I think who's gonna end up leaving is Dak, but we'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, there's teams that are always going to need receivers, so he's going to find a home, no problem. But the first team that came to mind when I think of who needs a receiver is the Patriots. I feel like they need some more firepower on that offense. So, and you got a young quarterback in Drake May that you want to speed up his development. So bringing in a guy like Tee Higgins to help him out when he eventually gets the keys, that could be a. That could be a good match, but again, you got to give Tee Higgins what he wants. And does he want to go to a contender or does he want to go to the highest bidder? That's the question. So we'll see. But again, that is way down the line. We got to just focus on the 2024 season at the moment. But it's just stuff to think about. And the way time goes, it's gonna be here before we know it. But yeah, it's unfortunate because he's been a productive player for this team. I said for a while now. Was a rookie back in 2020. He's gonna get a big contract, but he's gonna get it elsewhere. It's not gonna be. It doesn't seem like it's gonna be with the Bengals. They are gearing up to give Jamar Chase a massive extension at some point. So. Like I said, you can't keep everybody, and they're one of those teams that just they can't do it. But it doesn't seem like they can do it. So only time will tell, like I always say. So, but as for the Bengals, the key for them is to stay healthy. That's really what it comes down to. If Joe Burrow stays healthy, this team is going to be a problem. This team is going to be a problem. This could be, I think this team has the best chance of knocking off the Chiefs just because they've done it before. Now, there's other teams that you can make the argument for. The Texans. Let's see how the Texans match up against the Chiefs this year with their expectations. The Ravens and the Bills, they got their chances. and they have failed multiple times. Well, specifically the Bills in the playoffs. The Ravens just can't beat them in the regular season, but now they lost to them in the AFC Championship game. So, yeah, the Bengals have done it before, and I think they could do it again. But, the Chiefs are going to be a better team this year as well because of the moves that they made with their receiving core. We're going to see those explosive plays again that we haven't seen in quite some time. With the receivers that they got. Marquise Brown now, former Raven, and Xavier Worthy. If the Chiefs get back to how they were with Tyreek Hill, it's, I don't know who's beating them. There are teams that can. Like I said, the Bengals are that team. But the Chiefs are going to be a problem, offensively again during the regular season. Because, that was a rough year for them during the regular season. Their receiving core. But it didn't matter once you got to the postseason. So I can't say it was a rough year. During the regular season, it was rough. But once they got to the playoffs, it was business as usual. Yeah, we're good. We're fine. So, but like I said, I think the Bengals have the best chance to do it. And it's all going to come down to the health of Joe Burrow. So yeah, let me know what you guys think though about this news. Do you think that the Bengals are going to figure out a long-term deal with Tee Higgins, or is he's gone? He's going to another team. What are your thoughts on that? So before we go to break, just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is GSMCPodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is GSMCPodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So when we come back from our second break of the show, we will talk about some comments made by Tyreek Hill and Tua Tagovailoa and his contract, and why Tyreek believes that Tua should be one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. So we'll get into that when we return. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.